Hepcat design for our graphics and program, if you'll see. That's Brenda Pinnell, and she does an excellent job for us. And Everywhere Local, the gentleman in the back who will be live streaming and videoing this program. And for those of you that want to go back and go over this with your staff, it will be placed on our website and our Facebook page, so you can go and you can do trainings from that. And we didn't get releases from our people, they're going, oh no. This is our first session, networking as a marketing tool. And with that, I want to introduce our panel. And their bios, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on their bios, they're in the program, and we'll get started. I want to give them as much time as possible, but we're thrilled to have Mike Fulton and Carole DeAngelo, and I'll let them talk about their background. And we're going to open the session with Mike, followed by Carole. And Mike, as you get ready, we'll get your PowerPoint up and get started. Yes, I'll bring the clicker up.
As Don gets the PowerPoint up there, I'd like to congratulate the West Virginia Press Association on 150 years. That is a huge milestone. And again, our focus will be on networking as a marketing tool. And my role will be principally bridging West Virginia and Washington, D.C. I'm a native. I was born in Bluefield, West Virginia. I was adopted at 10 months and raised in Parkersburg. I went to Parkersburg High School and went to community college there. Met some wonderful people. Transferred on to W.Va and got my degree in journalism. I worked at the Parkersburg News and Sentinel and was blessed to know Dave Owen and Brad Kincaid, Jim Snyder, and on, Paul LePan, others. Some are still there. It was wonderful. I was all set to be a reporter at the Parkersburg News and Sentinel, and one day a Weirtonian came to Martin Hall at WVU and interviewed several students for an open position for Congressman Robert H. Mollahan. So Paul A. Atkins, again, I'll mention and drop a lot of names here during this presentation, but all of these mentors gave me these opportunities, and I think you never want to forget those people who got you where you are. And Paul said, "You are going to interview." I said, "Yes, sir." I put my one suit on, I showed up, I interviewed, I really liked him. His name was Meredith Robb. And 2 days later he called and offered me a position. So my life changed. Instead of a life in Parkersburg with my folks and my family, big family in Parkersburg, I went over during spring break and looked for housing within walking distance of the Capitol. And I had to pinch myself that I was going to Washington. It's been 40 years since that I graduated from WVU and went over to West Virginia, went over to the Capitol. Make sure we get this going.
Are we ready?
I don't see it working, Don.
Try it now, Mike. Is it?
Oh, there it goes.
I'm not
So,
sure.
That's my original Daily Athenaeum press pass up there. You can see I look an awful lot alike from those days. I did work at the Daily Athenaeum and really enjoyed that experience. I learned more from the mistakes we made than the things we did right. But I had an awful lot of fun doing that. And so many of my colleagues from the Daily Athenaeum days are in journalism right now. I think of Phil Kabler at the Gazette-Mail was on our team. Danny Goodwin's over at the Columbus Dispatch. Kurt Repenchek works for the National Parks Traveler. John Appizzato's in New York, working for Politico in Albany. So we all still keep in very close touch, and it's a lot of fun. I was blessed after 10 years of working on Capitol Hill with the Mollahans. I worked for Robert Mollahan, and then I moved back to Fairmont and helped Alan Mollahan run for Congress. When he was successful, I came back and served on his staff. I had the great pleasure to work with people like Ann Barth at Tech Connect, West Virginia. She was the Senator's state director. The West Virginia delegation staff was very tight and very collaborative. I think it still is. And I work with them all the time in the role that I play with our clients. Again, it's networking, it's keeping track of people's history, their background, and what might interest them, and how I can be helpful to them. Zig Ziglar said at one time, "You'll get all you want in life if you help enough people get what they want." And I try to live that as we go forward. I left Capitol Hill in 1988. A couple characters offered me a job. Many of you might know Charlie Ryan. I grew up watching him on TV, on the news, as an anchor, and then he did advertising and public relations in Charleston. And Dan McGinn, who was chief of staff to Congressman Bob Wise. So I worked for a company called Ryan McGinn for 13 years. We built a company from 3 people to 28 people and $10 million in revenue over that time, and we were purchased by the Interpublic Group of companies in New York, and we fell under the Golan Harris PR brand and took over their Washington, D.C. office. So I did public affairs at Ryan McGinn and Golan Harris for 23 years. At some point, I thought working for a big corporate conglomerate, which it wasn't as much fun. So I called Linda Arnold and said, "How would you like to open a Washington office?" She consulted with her partners, including Steve Morrison, who is now my boss at the Asher Agency, and they reluctantly agreed to hire me. So we opened our office at 1667 K Street in Washington, D.C., right with all the big companies, and it was a lot of fun. We were able to help a lot of West Virginia companies, and still are. Linda decided to take another path, and we're excited for her. And she sold to the Asher Agency, which has 11 offices around the United States. Their focus is advertising, public relations, digital marketing, social media, events, websites, you name it, soup to nuts. I provide the and more, the advocacy, the bridging of of advocacy and strategic communications in a lot of the work we do. By choice, I pursued and won and serviced a lot of West Virginia accounts. Just earlier this week, I was at Mr. B in Parkersburg, and with Mary Ann Kettleson, and what she has built there with Mr. B and taking that brand and revitalizing that company is rather impressive. So she's SBA Woman Certified, HubZone Certified, Kosher Certified. They are ready to do business, and the chips taste just as good as they ever did, maybe a little bit better. I was just also at TMC Technologies on I-79 corridor, working with a federal contractor and helping have them look at their business model in a different way, opening relationships that they did not have before in both West Virginia, but they also worked for the Navy in Dahlgren, Virginia, and at the Crane Naval Base near Bloomington, Indiana. And we have two Asher offices in Indiana that can help them a great deal as well. So met with Wade Linger yesterday afternoon. I spent time with W.Va at Parkersburg. As a community college graduate, it's really important to me to work for the community colleges of this state. And I've been very blessed to work with Chancellor Jim Skidmore and the new Chancellor Sarah Tucker, and a lot of the different presidents and others at the community colleges in the state. I really believe in this legislation that is going to provide the last dollar tuition. We're excited and hope it's a real big success. During the time I worked at Golan Harris, I was named top lobbyist by the Hill newspaper 4 times. I really enjoy working with the media. I also teach in the WVU Integrated Marketing Communications program. I believe that as a professional in journalism and public relations and advocacy, we need to be good educators. We need to help educate the public, but also our clients and the next generation of people coming through. Very excited to have some journalists in my class from time to time. And they always add value to the discussion and to the papers and round out the class a lot better than just people that are in marketing advertising, because they like to pitch stories and they need the perspective of the journalism community to do their jobs well. I'm also a member of the National Press Club, the Public Relations Society of America, National Capital Chapter, and the Grassroots Professional Network in Washington, D.C. So networking, we all know it's important. Why? Technology has provided us the golden age of communicating, for reasonable price, instantaneous outreach. However, face-to-face marketing is the best. People skills are still valuable, and we need to teach people of all ages that. So it can make you smarter and richer for taking chances. There are many chances that I've taken in hiring people and taking on certain clients, and it's generally always paid off to be very beneficial. You can pre-screen employees that you might want to hire. When I worked at Golan Harris and I had 16 people on a public affairs team, I knew already if anybody left on that team, I had a 3-deep list of people that I would hire. I never put an advertisement out on hiring somebody. I would go to them and offer them the job right on the spot, because I'd worked with them already and I knew them, and I'd got to spend a lot of time with them, and it always paid off. You may meet a future boss. You may get a reference, for the work that you do. In our line of work, we have to submit a lot of RFP responses, which need to include references. Also, personal branding. You can use networking for personal branding, and you can promote your services, which that's a lot of what Carole will talk about, and the benefits of being a subscriber and being active in your community. I have been very blessed through networking to land clients, helps with business development, helps me attend events like this where I grow and learn from what other presentations that I hear, and I learn of other opportunities for clients that I have, past and present. Ways to meet people, speaking engagements like this. I try to do this as much as I can. Networking events, there are a lot of opportunities. There are something in Washington, D.C., about 100,000 going on every night. So you have to space yourself and make sure that you have a rhythm and that you're not too unbalanced in your work-life balance, as well as your over-networking versus doing your actual job. Professional and alumni organizations are great ways to get involved. I went to Washington, D.C. in 1979. The first thing I did was join the West Virginia State Society of Washington, D.C. I'm on the board of directors now. I was president of the W.Va Alumni Association in Washington in 1986, and I've been pretty involved in that. I was on the national board of directors of the WVU Alumni Association when we built the new Alumni Center for 6 years. The people that I serve with on that board, I can call them now and they would do just about anything for me that's legal. The bonding that you develop with your fellow board members at West Virginia University and the Alumni Association is paramount. You can take courses. I'll be honest, I took a number of courses when I was working for the 2 congressmen. I felt like I needed to know more about public speaking. I felt like I needed to know more about federal procurement because I was getting a lot of companies that wanted to know about contracting, subcontracting, different designations, and I needed to know that better, so I went to the local community college and took a course. Also, I kept sending grant opportunities to people and asked them to spend a lot of time writing grants, competitive grants. And I thought, I need to know how to write a grant. So I went to Georgetown University, and I actually went with a staff member of Senator Robert Byrd's staff. We took it together, which kind of was good because it's dry. It was a very dry topic. But I made an A, I wrote a grant and got an A, and I said, that's the last grant I ever want to write. But I still send a lot of people grant opportunities, but I at least know what they're getting into. That's why I also recommend that you might want to use a professional grant writer to help hone your work before it gets submitted. Even if it costs a little money, it's worth it, that extra added touch of experience. Hobbies and clubs are another way to get involved. Helping with your firm's internship or mentoring program can be another way. Volunteering. I'll be honest, I've been with companies that had a volunteer project. I mean, one time we went to the local YMCA and we re-landscaped their property that day, and there were about 25 of us out there with all the supplies and stuff. And there were people that literally worked at my agency that I really didn't know that well in other departments. And so when you're there with a spade and throwing mulch around and planting flowers and other things all day long, you get to know people pretty well, working side by side, collaboratively. You also have to step up to the plate when you join an organization. So I joined PRSA kind of late, but I got involved in the Professional Development Committee, and I'm still on that committee, and we have professional development events that help public relations practitioners and bridge the gap with reporters. We have an event, it's on our website, September 12, with 5 reporters. We'll help PR people learn how to pitch stories in the way that journalists want to hear about news and information. 3 of the reporters that are in that panel are people that I help bring to the table, including Sean Anderson, who I went to school with here at WVU. He worked at WCLG Radio, and now he's the afternoon drive time anchor on WTOP All News Radio, and he's a very dear friend. Also, at the National Press Club, I've been a member for 2 years, and I decided to take a role on the Communicators Committee of doing reporter source happy hours. They weren't even, they do have happy hours, and there might be journalists in the room, and there will be communicators in the room, because there's 6 communicators for every journalist in the United States. So odds aren't fair, but you don't know. They're not wearing name tags. It's by happenstance that you meet folks. So what I decided to do was take the Truman Lounge, it's a wonderful gathering place for networking, and the bar's right there, and for $5, we have reporters and communicators sign up. And the first one we did was a general overall happy hour, and the last one we did was healthcare. It was focused on health, medicine, and science. We had 55 reporters and communicators at this event, and the stories that came out of it were great. The next one, September 11, that we're hosting, and it's on energy, transportation, and infrastructure, and we'll just keep doing this about every 3 months and hit all the topics going around the horn to make sure we're inclusive. But it's a lot of fun, and it's not that much work. probably, I've already had one good story pitched through it, so it was worth it already. I think the other thing I would recommend is, so many of us spend 80% of our time going after 20% of our network. And so we need to really look at broadening our horizons and not speaking to the choir. And I know that, like if you're with AARP or you're with IOGA West Virginia, which was one of my original clients in 1988 when I was at Ryan McGinn, you have to attend all the oil and gas events, but you also have to understand other industries and other streams, and you need to broaden your horizons in some way. It can't always be, just singing to the choir. So there are methods for deepening relationships, and they're fairly simple sometimes, but following up with an email or handwritten note, considering inviting somebody that you met at a reception for coffee, a drink, for lunch. I know people that have a regular day of the week that they focus on their networking, and they will do a coffee, a lunch, or whatever. I try to, I'm a real fan of the Dunkin' Donuts right near my office, and we'll meet there a good bit, or McCormick and Schmidt's just down the block for seafood. So I try to do that a lot, and of course the National Press Club is a wonderful place to network, because if you eat in the Reliable Source restaurant, you have to be a member, and a lot of people can go to the First Amendment restaurant, which is on the 13th floor, but if you want to go up to the 14th floor, you need to be a member. So a lot of people are interested in that opportunity, especially out-of-town clients and guests. Inviting new contacts to a meeting. A lot of time, if I meet a new WVU grad or somebody that's been referred to me, I'll say, hey, come with me to like a press club event, come with me to a PRSA event, come with me to a grassroots professional event. You'll meet people. And a lot of times job hunters will want to broaden their horizons at these professional networking events. The other thing too is I am a big talker, that's for sure, and you need to be a better listener, and I do try to listen better, and I work at it. The older I get, the better I get, but I try to send people things that I think might be of interest to them, and I think that's really important. When you have just met somebody brand new and then you heard something about where they're from or an interesting topic or a challenge that they're having, and then you send them an opportunity or an item that might be helpful, a news article, that can oftentimes deepen your relationship and then cause them to be more in touch with you than they would be otherwise. Obviously, you can connect on social media. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Highly recommend. I'm a huge fan of Twitter and LinkedIn in particular as ways to communicate professionally. So networking has worked for me, and I know it's worked for a lot of you as well. New clients, connections on Capitol Hill, ideas from my clients, finding industry allies and partners. It's so sweet when you put people together and see them working together, and then good things happen with brainstorming and ideas. It doesn't always work out, but I think it's worth mentioning and taking a risk and taking a chance. We learn about sponsorships and client events that we do. When I was for a number of years, we had a State of the University address with the president of West Virginia University coming over to DC, and the event was held at a hotel, the museum, the National Press Club, different ballrooms there. The event grew from a very small event on Capitol Hill that Senator Byrd got the Mike Mansfield room in the Capitol, which is a premier place to have an event, but it's smaller as a venue, and you also can't sell sponsorships and raise money for the university for scholarships and other purposes. So we moved it off Capitol Hill at some point and started selling these sponsors, and so the networking was how I landed those sponsors to be with the congressional delegation and the WVU community at that event. I've developed a lot of trusted sources in the media just by getting together with them, it wasn't really the press club either. I'll be honest, I got tired of reading about journalists covering my competitors. So I called the public policy reporters in the Washington, D.C. area, and it was during an August, and I lined up a coffee, a lunch, drinks after work with all the top ones, The Hill, Politico, Roll Call, Washington Post, and I just said, I just want to tell you about my practice, my firm, what we do. It landed a few stories, and then they started calling me for quotes on things that I knew a little bit about, federal appropriations, grants, different topics that I knew, and then they knew I'm from West Virginia. I get a lot of reporters call me who say, I need a source in West Virginia to speak with about something that's going on nationally. Job connections are another way that networking has worked for me. I have a lot of people through the W.Va Alumni Association, the College of Media, clients, sons and daughters, just people that lose their jobs in PR or in the journalism world, are looking to change and transition their job to more of a public relations or advocacy or advertising role, and I can kind of give them the ropes and point them to resources and network them around a little bit so that they have a more level playing field in their job search. I can't, really get them the job, but I can pretty much tee it up. And we have such a good track record with some employers. The employers are sending me job opportunities saying, do you have anybody in your network that might be good for this job? And then that's when I can feed them back to the university or colleagues or others. And I think there's no greater thing you can do than get somebody a job. And that builds and deepens loyalty pretty well. So I have been able to build the geographic reach beyond West Virginia and DC as well, because I think of like Kurt Tompkins, who was the Dean of Engineering here at WVU. In 1988, when we opened when I worked at Ryan McGinn, Kurt Tompkins called me and asked me, would you have a summer internship available for Bob, my son? And I said, yes. Well, we only had 3 people and we didn't really have enough work to have an intern, but I said yes. So Bob showed up and we put him to work, and he worked right alongside me. He's a partner at Holland and Knight in Washington, D.C., about 2 blocks from my D.C. office right now, and he's forever a friend. Kurt landed a job as president at Michigan Technological University in Houghton, Michigan. Kurt calls us up. He says, I inherited a lousy government relations firm. I want to talk to you. So he hired us. We worked for them for 12 years throughout his tenure as president at Michigan Tech. And he's a wonderful guy. And, it's just those kind of things that really work out. And then, your clients are here in West Virginia, and then they move to another state, like Rich Duvall. When he was Dean of Medicine here, we worked for him at the Health Sciences Center. When Rich went to Texas A&M, he probably wasn't there 2 weeks. He called us up. We worked for Texas A&M. He's retired now, and he's in California, and I still send him a Christmas card every year, and I get his annual letter to learn all about he and his family. So relationships really do matter, and I won't go into all of this, but I kind of looked at the people in my life who really, and I think all of you should really consider doing this. Take a look at the people like in your career who have really made a difference for you. And that goes back to like Peggy Kessinger, who was my journalism teacher at WVU at Parkersburg. Dave Owen, who mentored me, and I mean, he called me in a few times and hollered at me and told me what I needed to do better plenty of time. Brad Kincaid was pretty direct as well. Meredith Robb came all the way from Washington to hire somebody from this state. And he was a dear friend and mentor. Dan McGinn, I think of Dan McGinn and Charlie Ryan and all the hands-on projects we did together over 13 years in building that company. It was really exciting. Linda Arnold giving me the chance to open that Washington office in DC. Steve Morrison now for the collaboration we have every day, working on our clients. We've done things we didn't dream possible, quite frankly, in the last 5 years with the Asher Agency, and it's onward and upward. And Robert and Alan Mollahan. Bob Mollahan was like a second father to me, and Alan is a very dear friend, and I frankly just read in the Shepherdstown Chronicle that the Mollahan papers will be archived at the Byrd Center at Shepherd University, and I'm real excited to go over and see what they have, but I can also clear out my basement. I must have about 15 boxes of items and things that I think the public might get some interest out of, and nobody is going to see them in my basement. So, you know, and then I look at the clients over the years. I mean, I have to tell you, I'll just mention a few. Dale Nitschke. Dale Nitschke was president at Marshall University. I didn't know Dale Nitschke, but our firm put on an event, Carole, that would showcase Ryan McGinn and put us on the map in Washington, right? We did West Virginia Day and Washington, D.C. We had a logo, we had a tchotchke that you got, and we said you have to sponsor and come to Washington and participate in our program. The delegation supported us, and we did it about maybe 4 or 5 years, and it was a huge hit. Great idea that Dan had and the way we executed it. But Dale Nitschke comes up and he goes, "I'm really impressed with you boys." He said, "I'd really like to hire you." And I said, "Well, Dale, we work for W.Va in a big way, and that's probably not going to fly as much as I'd like to do that." So he left and went to the University of New Hampshire. He was probably there a few months, called us up. We were up in Durham and Manchester, working with their campuses, working with Dale. Then he retires, moves to Milford, Ohio. I still keep in touch with him. He comes out of retirement, goes up to take over at Southeast Missouri State University in Cape Girardeau. And he comes in he says, "Can I come and see you?" So he comes to our office and he brings a video. We go in the conference room, we pop in the video, and they've done this video where they're going to buy this piece of land. It's a Jesuit school with Indian, Native American artifacts, and it's got some facilities, but it's all this land along the Mississippi River. And he wants to develop the river campus with federal appropriations, grants, tax breaks at the state level, and all that. I said, "This is a big project, Dale. Are you sure you want to undertake this?" And he says, "I do." We rolled up our sleeves, we developed a plan, and over 10 years, that river campus is open. It's a creative arts center. It opened up the downtown in Cape Girardeau and revitalized it. They took advantage because their congressional delegation and governor was a great partner with them, but because we had great strategy on the back end. I think a lot of government people don't know all the work that goes into it before we go in to see them with the planning and strategy and proposal drafting and all that. And so Dale is one of my favorite clients ever. And I still keep in touch with Dale. Also, catalysts in our life that kind of push us. And I think of Chad Mazzara, who started an online teaching program at West Virginia University's College of Media. I was on the college's visiting committee for years and learned about the online offerings. And so I go, "Chad, give me a chance to teach public affairs and government relations." He goes, "No, nobody's really interested in that yet." So then one day I went to visiting committee meeting and he goes, "We're ready for you." He partnered me with a PhD from Eastern Kentucky University. We wrote the course. We co-taught it for 2 years. I've taken it over now and taught it 6 more years. Chad pushes me. They asked me to be on their podcast. They asked me to go represent them around the country to help recruit students. It's just a wonderful avenue, being able to give back, but also to learn from the faculty at WVU, the faculty in the IMC program who are all over the United States and much more talented than I am. And I think of people at Grassroots Professional Network, National Press Club, and PRSA, who also pushed me to be a better person, a better professional. And so that's what it's really all about. I'll just tell you a few stories here. We were hired by the Seafood Nutrition Partnership. They're in Arlington, Virginia. They picked 8 markets in the United States where they wanted to promote seafood as a healthy food. It's part of the USDA and HHS dietary guidelines for Americans should eat seafood at least twice a week. They asked us if we could help promote seafood in Charleston, West Virginia. Asher Agency submitted a proposal, we were hired, and the first thing we did was start a coalition, build a coalition, and that put all of our networks to work so we could find the top people in the Charleston area, and then we broadened it to the whole state of West Virginia at some point, and we brought in the food guy at the Gazette-Mail. Was like the first call we made because we wanted him on board with his column, and we wanted his advice on what would work, and many of his ideas were real winners. We had a cardiologist, so we called Clay Marsh, and we said we need a really savvy cardiologist that can tell West Virginians this is the right thing and give the science background in an understandable way. So Tanya Bobber became our cardiologist. I walked around with her at Capitol Hill and met with the delegation. We did a lot of events. She wrote op-eds. She was wonderful to work with and was very effective. We worked with a registered dietitian at the W.Va Extension Service, Cindy Fitch. She was wonderful. Andy Richardson, who I went to school with, was on the Charleston City Council. So he declared it Seafood Nutrition Partnership Awareness Day in Charleston with a city resolution. We used all the tricks in the bag, to promote this program, and West Virginia and Charleston was the smallest of the 8 markets, yet we got more people to sign up for the Healthy Heart Pledge to say that you would eat seafood twice a week, at least twice a week. Ann Barth's one of our real believers, and was on our coalition. We had members of the media wanting to be there. We had congressional staff wanting to be part of the coalition and come to our meetings. Everybody had great ideas. We did something with Kanawha County Schools. Brianna Warner Wilson was one of my former interns in Washington, and she's now the spokesperson for Kanawha County Schools. So we just dug into the Rolodex and the LinkedIn for files, and we made calls and saw who could be helpful, and it really worked. The Press Club Happy Hour, I told you about that. We landed a great story for the Children's Medical Nutrition Alliance, and it got published the day of their congressional fly-in. It really helped members of Congress jump on a piece of legislation that will help mandate that insurance companies help pay for medical nutrition that kids with rare diseases have, and they can't keep food down. They can't tolerate food, so they need this medical nutrition until they either outgrow it or there is a solution for them. And some people have no solution. They're on medical nutrition for their entire life. It is very expensive. It's $14,000 a person for medical nutrition, so the average person cannot afford that on top of their other commitments. So some insurance companies don't cover it very well. So we told that story with a reporter that was at this happy hour, and it was a great story and helped us sell the bill on Capitol Hill. I was also elected to be on the Lobbying Association's board for 10 years, and I met a fellow named Monty Ward. He got to be president of the group, and he said, the lobbying industry, they're about as popular as car dealers, used car dealers, and so they get a lot of negative press. And of course, every politician that's out back home is talking about the swamp and the bad folks in Washington, when really it's people like me that are just trying to be the honest broker between and help really busy staff people do their jobs better and provide information from our client's perspective and know what's possible and help be an added value to things. So Monty liked the way I handled public relations for this organization, and then I get a call one day. we need to do the national release of the most fit cities in America. Can you do it? I said, sure we can do it. If you have news, you can do it. And I mean, the American College of Sports Medicine is a great group to work with. I've done it for the last 5 years. They're very pleased. We've been in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times. West Virginia, unfortunately, none of the cities are large enough to be on the 50 most fit cities. Now they expanded it to 100 cities. We're still not big enough yet. But we get, I think we had 300 million views of online and placements in newspapers around the world that cover this story every year. And I have a fabulous health PR list that's global in nature because of my work with ACSM. And then they hire me for other things from time to time to help them out. As a W.Va Parkersburg alum, I was honored, and this was a special day. In May 2012, I was invited to be the commencement speaker at the community college. And there is nothing better than standing on that stage and shaking the hand of every graduate that has gone through nursing and welding and all the things and bettering their careers. And so I got to know Jim Skidmore a little bit better. I knew Marie Nagy, the president of the college. I'd gone there. But Jim Skidmore saw some ideas I had, and we've done a lot of things with Sarah Tucker has testified on Capitol Hill before the Senate Appropriations Committee. We did our agency did all the marketing and advertising and promotion of the advanced technology centers in Fairmont and South Charleston. We've done digital advertising campaigns for some of their high demand programs that they do, that they try to market. And we do a lot of things for the community college system without even getting paid for it, which is fine too. I also worked with Terry Giles when she was state director for Senator Jay Rockefeller. Terry left West Virginia and went to Los Angeles and ran the Formosa Foundation that works with the Taiwanese. And I kept in touch with Terry, and she then came back to the state. She's from Hinton, West Virginia, and she joined Appalachian Headwaters. And many of you have covered the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective that they are growing there. They won Appalachian Regional Commission grants. They just won a Benedum grant. They have money from the Patagonia Foundation. They are a rising star, and they're ready to market and sell the honey that all of the people, the displaced coal miners, the veterans, handicapped folks, single-family parents and grandparents raising kids, are all been certified by the Appalachian Headwaters to raise bees, to help pollinate our native plants in West Virginia, and help restore abandoned coal mine lands, which is the focus of Appalachian Headwaters. The congressional delegation loves this project. The reporters nationally love it. Voice of America just did a great piece on them, and they're back doing another piece there. NPR, but keep an eye on this group right here. But we've done a lot of work with Appalachian Headwaters, and we think we can do more with them. But it was all through relationships and networking and keeping in touch with people, even if they're not in your lives every day and in front of you. Another idea that I really believe is, there are opportunities to be a grant reviewer for different programs. And so if you're qualified to be a grant reviewer and help a federal agency review the thousands of grants they're going to get and follow their guidelines, you can learn how to then write those grants better, and you learn how you build a relationship with the agency that you want to pursue. So a number of our clients have done that. But there's the opportunity to serve on federal advisory committees. And so Jim Clements, we had an idea for him to be on this Department of Commerce advisory committee, and Jay Rockefeller was very helpful and supported that nomination, and he served on it. And unfortunately, when he left WVU, he took that federal advisory role with him to Clemson. He did not pass the torch to Gordon Gee. We also helped Helen Matheny, a very dear friend who I used to work with at Charles Ryan Associates, and she's over at the Neuroscience Center at the Health Sciences Center. Helped her get on the Alzheimer's Research Education Advisory Committee. And then I knew David Goldberg when he was a student here at W.VU, and he came to Washington, D.C. and got his first job. He worked for Inova Health System there doing development work, raising and doing fundraising. And David's now CEO of Mon Health here in town. And when he got situated, he called me up and said, I want you to work with us. So one of my ideas was to get him on the CMS Advisory Committee on Outreach and Education. He was sworn in on July 16th and did a great job. And he's really excited about what he can do. And he's, instead of being on the menu, he now has a seat at the table, which is what I really try to provide for our clients. So some other relationship leads, how did Senator Byrd's archives get to be at Shepherd University? How did John Carroll University land a $10 million grant? A small Jesuit school in Cleveland get a $10 million grant to build a new technology center? How did the National Advisory Committee on Rural Health come to Morgantown, West Virginia? It was relationships. So throughout the day today and tomorrow, ask me about these questions and I'll tell you a little bit more about them. But I really enjoyed speaking to you all and giving you my perspective, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Questions for Mike? I know that we were talking last night, and I will encourage all of you to network in room 305 tonight. That's our hospitality suite. And Mike will be there, and you can be there, and there are cold beverages, and I think that works. We were talking last night, there's a lot of people in this room that we've worked with, and you've all networked with each other, you know each other, and that's the value of being here. But I think as you go back to your papers, a lot of us, someone said, what's the leadership of the newspaper industry look like? And I said, well, we're getting up there in age at some point in the leadership. But a lot of our young, I see Perry Nardo here and some of the other people in the room, and it gets to the point where you go out and you can't have dinner alone because you're in the community and you see people and you think you're involved and you start to slow a little bit. Mike's energy is incredible. You can tell that he's still staying active. I encourage you to give your young people a chance. When you get back, don't think of this as what I need to do more of, because you do, but give these young people a chance. Talk to them and find out who's going to the school board meetings because their kids are involved, who is on a chamber, and see if you can get them into some of those roles. And nothing is better than saying, we appreciate you being involved. Here's a company polo. You can wear it. We appreciate you being there so that you're out there. But just recognize them and reward them, because the things Mike are talking about, a lot of that's individual effort by people who want to do stuff. So recognize that. Now we're going to bring up Carole DeAngelo to talk about, and maybe in a sense, more team efforts that we do that are done at the paper. And I think if we combine these two, we're much better served for our customers and our people. So with that, 305 is a hospitality suite, and a big hand for Mike and Carole will be up next.
Right there. We should be good.
Good morning.
Let's make sure Carole get your slides up.
Very excited to use a clicker. I like little gadgets. So thank you first of all for having me. And I will tell you, I gave you a lot of material. You'll see in front of you. So I talk a lot. I don't like to reference what's on the page. I like to talk, so I will have to be told this is enough. So one of you has to say stop. But please write notes, write questions, and I will tell you just a little bit about me, because my past and my relationships have led me to where I am today. So I grew up in Weirton, West Virginia, and so this is the third time I've said I was a Valley girl this week, and I am extremely, extremely proud of that. I grew up in a mill town, in a steel mill town, and my entire family worked in the mill. And that mill mentality and that mill ethic that it was instilled in me and passed down, I wouldn't trade for anything. So it is actually my pleasure to be here, because my first big girl job was at the Weirton Daily Times. And I loved every little aspect of it. The clip art, the going to the big books and cutting out the clip art and taking a spec to a client. And I mean, every little bit of it. I loved the smell. I loved everything about it. And never in a million years thought my career would come full circle, which I'm not going to bore you with, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about where it went and how it led me back here. So then I decided to shift gears for a hot minute and go into radio, which pays $3.17 an hour then and now. But I loved it. I loved it because of networking. And so I didn't realize everything that I was doing, even at a very young age, was about networking, and it was about relationship building. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, I have no secret sauce. I'll tell you that. If you think I'm going to tell you, this is the magic trick, there is no magic trick. I'm a whole lot of crazy, and I work with a whole lot of crazy, and we together, the energy just brings what I'm going to talk to you about today. So, just a quick history. I landed in Washington, Pennsylvania, to be the marketing director of a mall that was in dire need of a renovation. And I started out as the marketing director there when we went through a huge renovation. And it led me to the Observer Reporter. And so I met all of them, and I learned that it doesn't matter what the year is, we still need our local media. They're fooling you if they tell you they don't, because they do. And so we created an entire campaign utilizing the Observer Reporter, and I realized firsthand that this paper in this town was very special. So everything we did, we used the paper, we used the local radio station, formed alliances, continue to do things. All right, so my career there went on for 10 years. Mall management's a whole other story, and I could talk about that for hours, none of which anybody wants to hear. Went on up the road to another mall, a little more upscale mall, a little further away, but continued to work with the Observer Reporter and their sister paper. We did a luxury auto show. The mall was upscale. We did a luxury auto show magazine. First time anybody ever done anything like this. Brilliant. I mean, wasn't my idea. Beautiful publication. Took my career down the road further into Pittsburgh to the waterfront. We were working on another car show, totally different format. Why am I telling you this? Because I realized there is something special within this newspaper, within this industry, that will never go away. We're all going to have our struggles, but things like I'm going to talk to you about today will help shift your gear a little bit, make you look at things a little bit different, and 150% generate new clients. So fast forward, I heard of this events division they were going to start. Okay, what are we going to do? What's that mean? They want to start an events division. What does that mean? Well, we didn't know what it meant. Do you want to apply? No. Do you want to apply? I don't know. Let's think about it. So I started to think about Washington and where the voids are. And I want you guys to think about what I'm saying. Every one of your communities, whether larger city, smaller rural city, you have voids. You can partner with. You have voids in what there is to do. Everyone loves fairs and festivals, right? You have voids. So I started to think about it, and I thought, okay, I'm an old lady. If I'm going to change careers, I'm going to do it right now. Threw my hat in the ring, and here I stand 5 years later. We started off with 2 events. And you see in some of this gaggle of material I've given you, we're up to 15. Some of them make $2.40. Some of them make $50,000. But each of them is extremely important. My staff will tell you, they bought me a can of WD-40 one year with a little ribbon on it because I'm so cheap I squeak. But, and it's true, and I've been proud of that forever. There are so many ways that you can partner with your clients to work on, okay, if you do this, then we can do that. It's not hurting your bottom line at all. It's creating more of an allegiance, and you could save money. So, I will tell you that never in a million years did I think that these events were going to turn to what I'm going to tell you. Never. And so that's why people will say, what's your secret sauce? There has to be a secret. We partner with the Meadows Racetrack and Casino, for those of you who are familiar with the local area. It's one of the largest casinos in the state of Pennsylvania, and they have horse racing, and so they have an apron. So to me, I look at that as a giant canvas of opportunity, and that's what we did. I will tell you that the first thing we talked about, we identified what we needed, and I won't bore you with the why, I'll just tell you how we ended up translating it into an event in dollars. We identified the voids, but the most important thing that I did was look at a venue that would partner. I try not to pay for, you have to pay for some venues, but I try not to pay anything or as little as possible. Again, we're a media outlet. We have services to offer them. They need us. They may not realize it at this second. Maybe a month, maybe a year down the road, they're thinking, I don't want to lose this event, so you don't have to. How about you pay half? How about you pay nothing? How about I pay nothing? So the point is, in this little tips sheet that I gave you, is literally as basic but as true as we held our model. This is our formula. The secret sauce is sitting here in this room. It's not me. It's all of you. You know your markets better than anybody. When you take a really hard step back and think about what you know about your market and all the people that you know in your market, you know where the voids are. You know the people that will partner with you to make this happen. And we are a media outlet. So everything that we do, and I have samples to pass around, I will forewarn you, I am super klutzy, so there's a 99% chance I'll go airborne if I go to walk off. I'm just being honest. But the formula is, and I'll start showing you some photos here in a second. The formula is, we utilize our newspapers to run ads to promote our events, right? Of course. We create magazines for the larger events, and they have to be a certain dollar value, and I can explain later if we have time as to why. We utilize a website, a dedicated website for every event. We all have websites, we all have the digital departments to create them. We utilize social media. And then we push things back and forth. When we are leading up to the event and the magazine is being inserted in the newspaper, we promote it on social media. And I will tell everyone here that we were so proud of this. For our food truck festival that I'll get to in a minute, last year, we teased the magazine. So we had the link, we put the photos, and when I pass them out to you, you'll see we've spent a lot of time making sure that the magazine looks a certain way, because that's certainly a hook. We will promote that. Don't miss your food truck festival magazine in this Sunday's Observer Reporter. People were asking, where do I buy it? Because they're in Pittsburgh. That to us is obviously a major win. So we're pushing you to a giant eagle to buy the newspaper. That's huge. The secret sauce is in this room. And I will tell you, and I'm not going to make any bones about it. I already told you I'm 5 shades of crazy, and I am. But this stuff is fun. This stuff can be fun. I have a staff that everyone steps in, and we'll talk about that later. Each of you has a staff, be it big or small. You have sponsors, you have partners, you have people who will want to work with you. So, I won't make you look at me anymore. Those are just some of the examples of the magazine covers that I have up here to pass around. Is this a clicker or?
It's a click, it should be.
I like
towards
this
a
one.
computer, Carol. Maybe it'll help. I don't know.
I don't know. I like the
We can
fact
go
that
to the
it's
next one.
pointing at
That's
you.
what you go.
Oh, okay, there you go. I was really intrigued. I thought there was going to be a cat coming out. So this again is all in one of your packets. For me, the important things were, obviously we're going to create more revenue. That's why we're all sitting here. That's the bottom line. But it also goes back to what Mike said. It's about networking. It's about everything we do should be about networking. So it's about a community engagement. And then for us, we took it a step further after we realized this was working. We're now a tourism destination. When you can reach the fact that you are being promoted by and partnering with and called a tourism destination, you've achieved something. And I'll show you, not every one of these events, but a handful of them. I feel like I'm pointing at her, though. I don't like
We may
that.
have to roll it.
That's all right. All right, so this was an event that was near and dear to my heart because we did this at the mall I managed, and when I left, it disbanded. So I knew, huge void, right? It's gone. This event doesn't make a lot of money, and you can see that on there. And my boss is in the room, so I'm hoping he's not got his calculator out. If anybody sees Perry with his calculator out, throw something at him. Anyway, so the point is, again, go back to what I originally said. Some of them are going to make a lot of money, others are going to make a little money. But you have to think about what's important to your community and which partners who you're getting new revenue from, who is a new partner from this. And then I'll tell you in a little bit some of the people who have partnered with us who have never done business with us before. Car dealers, which make us all, everybody made a face. Everybody made some people might have groaned, right? We know how difficult they are to try to work with. We know that their revenue dollars are being filtered elsewhere, right? They love events. I literally have, our biggest event of the year is coming up this month, Corks and Kegs Festival, and we literally have naming rights sponsors, a car dealer. You think for a second, well, a car dealership is promoting drinking? Is that weird? Never once has anybody said, why is a car dealer? Never once is it broached because people realize this isn't a drinking event. It's an event and drinking's a part of it. And the car dealers actually have been smart enough to push don't drink and drive. So here again, we were able to spin it. Car dealers love events. I will say it 5 times while I'm up here. We all have lost revenue to car dealers. We're gaining revenue. Brand new car dealers spending 10 grand with us. One of our most difficult car dealers is our naming rights sponsor for 3 of the events I'm going to talk to you about. So Kids Fest is exactly what it sounds like, so I don't need to explain that. We've got, and obviously I'm Italian, and obviously I like to make a lot of noise, so all of the events make a lot of noise. Every one of them's got something going on all over the place. But here again, go back to the cheap factor, you're probably thinking, oh, I can't afford this, or we can't afford that. You can. When you sit down and think, this is going to be the one event I'm going to try first, you're going to say, these are my haves, these are the things we have to have. We've got to have music. We've got to have food, right? These are essentials to make something fun. You then identify sponsors. So it's almost like you're working off of a bracket. Oh, I know Solomon Ford might want to sponsor the kids area. That's what you do. Then you extrapolate that out. You know it's going to cost you this much. You need your sponsorship to be this much. And then slowly over time, you'll chip away at that. This event has literally, this is the mall that I managed for 10 years. At one point in the first year, there were so many people in the mall, I had to flip my hat and I thought, oh my God, if there's an emergency, how are we getting out of here? It was that packed. It was that packed because we promoted it as things for kids to do, interactive activities, stage things, all sorts of stuff. Giveaways are absolutely huge. If you need a hook to get people to come to your event, do a giveaway. We're having a giveaway. We have an event this evening, our first Friday event, which you'll see in a minute. And what we're doing is we're promoting, just think about what I'm saying for a second. It all sounds convoluted, but it all makes sense. At some point it makes sense, maybe not today. We're promoting Corks and Kegs, so we're doing a giveaway for Corks and Kegs tonight at First Fridays. So you can win a $50 beer flight, $50 in food truck voucher, $50 in shopping vouchers, but you have to come to First Fridays to enter. So it's getting all sorts of action on social media. Everything is interconnected. Am I pointing this at you or I don't like pointing it at you. I mean, I feel like okay, there you go. So those are some other pictures of some of the fun activities and the mayhem that goes on with that. So for that event, we have, obviously you have a hospital in your town or near your town. Hospitals love kids events. Hospitals obviously love health events. And then I'll talk a little bit more about, go ahead, I'll talk a little bit more about another event we just started last year. Okay, so this event makes me extremely nervous, and it makes me, at some point I have more grays. I have to get my hair colored 3 times that month, and maybe the month prior. So I don't know if your area has a lot of food trucks or not. I have no idea who's got food trucks. Everybody's got food trucks, might be 50 miles away. Everybody's got food trucks, and I'm here to tell all of you. My staff calls me PT Barnum. They call me PT because it is like I'm running a circus. Sometimes I feel like I'm running a circus, and they act like it's a circus. But I will tell you something. This event started 4 years ago, and we had 20 food trucks the first year. The second year we had 40. The last 2 years we've had 55 and almost 60 food trucks. That's a lot of food trucks. That's a lot of food. How are we supporting all these food trucks? Because this event is at the Meadows Racetrack and Casino. And again, I'm assuming some of you know we're Washington, PA. We're sort of the southwestern part of Pittsburgh, right? So we know exactly how we're going to promote this. And we promote in West Virginia. We promote in Ohio. We promote a little bit in Maryland. And so then tourism said, oh, what are you doing? What's going on here? You're promoting, what? So their goal was heads and beds. Don't really like that phrase, it's their phrase. Think it's kind of creepy. But they decided to partner with us and do this huge giveaway. They're an $8,000 to $10,000 sponsor every year of our events, depending on what we're doing, and a huge overnight package giveaway. So this event had so many people that there were 45. It was a 45-minute wait to get into the casino from the interstate. That makes me a little scary. That's a little scary to me. So what has happened is I have been able to go to financial planners, a company called Hilliard Lyons. Everybody's got financial planners. Financial planners don't typically use the newspaper. They've got their own database. They've got their own way of marketing. Well, they noticed. I called. I'm like a gnat. You are going to swat at me until you think you've killed me, and I'm going to come back again. So you're going to meet with me to shut me up, quite frankly. I mean, you'll see that in a minute. But I had this information, and I have statistics like that are on this page. We're talking 30,000 people to an event. That's unbelievable. No secret sauce here. No secret sauce. You are a media outlet. You have people who want to do what we're doing. Everybody's looking at me real serious. You're very serious. You gonna ask me a question? Not yet? All right. I like how serious he's looking. So here's some more photos. I'm clicking at her. I just want to push the clicker. I'm not gonna lie. If it doesn't work, I'm still doing it. Those are, and also examples on each page and in your packet are examples of our full page ads that we do. We are a media outlet. We have the ability to promote our events in our own product as well we should. Which then makes people say, whoa, look at all these ads. What's going on here? You're running all these ads. Well, is it working? You had 30,000 people. What? It'll work. Trust me when I tell you. It doesn't happen immediate. It's not instant gratification. It's a work in progress. Okay, go ahead. I didn't use the clicker that time. So the next, well, there's some more photos. That's a line to one food truck. And I just wanted you guys to see sort of a little bit of an overview of how the car dealers also. We had 6 car dealers sponsor the food truck festival. And this is the next important part. So your sponsors will want things. Your sponsors will not know what they want. I'm not kidding. Sometimes I'm making stuff up as I'm talking to them, and some of it sticks really well, and some of it just slides right down off the wall. But you've got no-brainers. Your venue will have space. Depends on your space. You may have a little, or a lot. Car dealers can display cars. If they tell you they don't sell cars, they're totally wrong. They're not going to sell them. Well, we have had actually. We have had an event start. Somebody bought a car right off the lot, off of actually Corks and Kegs last year. We had to move it, but they will go literally kick the tires. They don't want to be bothered. Why do we go to a car dealership on a Sunday? Because no one's there, right? I'm not going to explain that any further. It's so easy. You can come up with the most obscure ways of displaying cars. I can't be told no if I don't ask. So one year, I asked the casino. If some of you have been here, you understand they have obviously a main entrance with a grassy area. I ran buildings for a living, so I know most of the time they're going to tell me no. But I'm going to ask anyway. So I said, hey, I have a great idea. You have all this grass at your entrance. I have 5 car dealers. They're basically, pun intended, fueling this event. See what I did there? Sometimes we use that line. Everyone makes fun of me. But I said, how about if we put cars right at the entrance on the grass? And they look at me like, oh, God, what is she asking? And then I said, well, listen, then I'm going to put some signs that cost me $9, cheap, in the yard, as I call it. It's like my yard, like my house, to say, Corks and Kegs coming up this weekend, da-da-da-da-da, sponsored by this. And then they're thinking, oh, wait a minute, she's going to do some signs. That's extra publicity. Let her do it. Cost me $60. I put signs. All the car dealers get their cars right at the main entrance. Everybody's happy. Move on. Right? You have a mall. You put cars on display. This is the example of First Friday, and I'm jumping around just because you'll see why. This is tonight's event. This event makes about $1.47 at the end. I mean, it makes a little bit of money. It's not about that either. We, of course, will always make money. I will never have an event that does not generate revenue. I can tell you that, Perry, I promise you. But This event means something to our downtown. How many people in here don't have a struggling downtown? I'd like to talk to you if you don't. Every one of us do. There's a beautiful pavilion literally across the street from the Observer. So they came to me one year and said, let's do something. I said, okay, let's do something. Okay, what are we gonna do? Well, we need to have some entertainment during the summer. Let's do something on Friday night. Everybody likes it just right after work. Let's just go. We created First Fridays. The next thing I will tell you is the logo. We're a media outlet. We have creative people. We can make logos for nothing. Right? So, here we go. You'll see that all of our logos have a distinctive look. I do not ever put the sponsor's logo in our logo. That's just not something I'm going to commit to unless you're maybe going to pay me $1 million. I don't know. I'll think about it for that. But think about what it is that we have to offer. We can then, so before we do anything, before I go out and pitch anyone, I'm creating flyers, old school flyers. They still work. I still like to have something. People still like to see a little stats, but it doesn't have to be too much. Here's our pretty shiny new logo. This is what the event is. This is who we're targeting. This is what we're giving you. So brand new events, you've got to give them something. I mean, I know I'm entertaining, but at some point everyone's like, stop, so you want something else to look at. Flyers still work. You do your logo first, go on from there. This is an example of what is going to be happening this evening. It's basically a pavilion across the street. It's a parking lot. It's a covered parking lot. We'll have 4 food trucks. I just did the map at 10 o'clock last night. 47 vendors, 12 sponsors, a bouncy house, a face painter, some other little 2 more kids' activities, and a band. Check, done, move on. You're done. And every single thing is paid for. What I like to do is get one big sponsor to pay for the entertainment. That's something you definitely want to look at. When you're extrapolating your expenses, it's smart if you've got a series, get someone to be naming rights sponsors or something. I do for everything. So in this case, it's the Meadows. You see what's going on here, right? I'm like, oh, if you want me to bring you 30,000 people, how about you sponsor First Fridays? And they look at me like, I don't want to. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I never have to say that. So here we go. So this event is very, very, very easy. It's for downtown. We invite the downtown businesses to participate for free. The other vendors literally pay next to nothing. It's not that, this is more of a feel-gooder. So the sponsors will basically cover the cost of this one, but it's a boost for our downtown. And it makes us look like heroes. Everybody loves it. Okay, I'm clicking you now. So this one was extremely dicey because, again, I go back to, we all know how car dealers are. Well, I don't know if many of you, we have the Pittsburgh Car Show, and it's a very big show at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. All right, that's fine. We're in Washington. How's that helping us? So I remember saying, we need a car show. And at first they were telling me, no, we don't need a car show. I said, okay, you have to pay to enter. There's a point to what I'm going to tell you in a minute. You have to pay to enter, and you have to pay to park at the Pittsburgh Car Show. I try to make every event that I can, free parking, free admission. We have had ticketed events, but those go to a specific organization. That's a whole other topic. So I said, all right, we need to have a car show that's free and free. Okay, we had the first one. Let me just summarize this. This was our 5th one. We've moved it 5 times. 5 times, because it couldn't find the right home. We're never going to get car dealers to participate. We've had 12 to 14 car dealers participate, which is literally every car dealer in Washington County, for the reasons I just told you. But going back to my venue comment, sometimes you don't hit it right on the first try. You think it's going to work, but if you think it's very difficult to try to figure out space for 5 to 7 cars per car dealer, you lose space pretty quickly. So I'm super excited for you to show the next slide. So we closed downtown Washington. We closed the street. And I said, wait a minute, we're making this more difficult than we should. We have a First Friday. Let's do it in June, before Father's Day. We'll have it on the street. Now again, this all sounds great with my harebrained ideas. Are they going to let me close the street? they let me close the street. Go back to the Nat. But I gave them, the reason they let me close the street was because I'm bringing business to our downtown. I'm not just about closing, well, I do like to close streets, it was kind of fun. But no, there has to be a valid reason why we want to do this. And so it was perfect. We had one car dealer sell 4 cars directly from the show. V cars at the show, never happened. So putting it in conjunction with the First Friday helped, because what happens then is I've got the expense from the First Friday will go there, but we will also promote First Friday in addition to the car show, so you kind of have double the coverage in essence for half the cost. So we were super proud of that. So next year, this is just something to think of. Each year it builds. We're going to do a vintage car show. I think I'm going to close the next street, and we're going to have a car cruise after that. That's a no-brainer. Like we all said, well, what took us so long? Like 5 years later? Okay, go ahead. Sometimes I'm not right. All right. A running joke of my life is that I work for the Meadows Racetrack and Casino for free. That is my pro bono job. All I asked them to do is please just give me a parking space. Just, it's not a lot to ask. No. So, when I tell you that this part of the job, and I'm not candy coating it, you can see the numbers on, I won't make you go forward to the slide. We don't have expenses for this year yet, but it definitely has, it has reached the highest level of any event. We're almost at $80,000 in revenue. That's a lot of revenue. I will tell you something very important. I had battles with my former boss about this. He felt like we should price ourselves at here. I said, no, we should price ourselves right here. We should price ourselves right here. No, we should price ourselves right here. And I'm going to tell you why I know that. For 20 years, I sat on the other side of the desk. And I know every single person came up and asked me to sponsor a Little League, right? Or we've got this great event going on here, or we've got this special on this. So everybody's budget is legitimately not as, glamorous as they would like it to be or we would. If you start yourself here, you can continue to do this. Instead of this, then you got to do this. Start yourself here. We have battled about what vendors pay. I will never overcharge a vendor because the vendors, well, P.T. Barnum here working with the carnival, right? It's people who might be making jewelry on the side. They have a full-time job. This is their little side gig, or this is their livelihood, and they're going from town to try to do this. I also surveyed everybody. I didn't go out and try to recruit. I didn't poach people at events. I don't like when they do it to me. But I asked them, what are you paying? And I did a whole chart to see, okay, this fair generates this many people and they're charging this and they get this. So we need to be about here. So now what I've done is, if you have your own tent, you get a little bit of a discount. That's my biggest expense forever and always. Forever and always. We're all in the wrong business. We should be in rental. I say it every day of my life, but that's the biggest expense. Shifting gears a minute, partner with a really solid sign company, because how you can sell to anyone is by signage. So each year, again, cheap, I bought X number of sign holders, the A-frame sign holders that you can carry around. I've had them for 5 years. They're plastic, they get dirty, you wipe them off, you call it a day. They look fine. Every year I add 2 or 4 to them, right? They cost literally $12 to print the sign, put it on the sign holder, call it a day. Sponsors love to see their name on a sign in lights at events. No brainer, simple. So then you've got stages. You could be the stage sponsor. You can have the whole panel of the stage. They look at me like, what? Then we produce it, that's it. I've had the same stage sponsor, that's really hard to say, I'm sorry if I spit, same stage sponsor for the events for the last 4 to 5 years. Okay? So, fast forward, well, I'm fast forwarding sort of, back to this one. This event is an absolute beast. I am not lying to you when I tell you that doing events is absolutely not easy. When I leave here, I'm going to fly back to Washington. I have my shorts, my First Friday t-shirt, my ball cap, because nobody wants to see this hair sweaty, my tennis shoes, and I'm switching gears and going on. It is, I'm talking 20,000 steps. It's a great workout. It is not easy, the reward is worth every last second of it. I am a money-making, not machine, but I love to generate revenue. I love to generate revenue. I love to see that number at the end, but I also like to see the kids' faces painted, and I love to see them bouncing, and I love to see people eating, and I love to see them dancing, and I love to see on social media what our events are doing for our community. Okay, so back to this one. Big sigh. This event has turned, we thought we were gonna have, see there's a gnat. We thought we were gonna have, the first year, maybe 20 beers, handful of wineries, a couple food trucks. No, we started out of the gate with about 40 breweries, 6 wineries. There weren't really distilleries at the time. You see where the story's going. If you look at the stat right now, I don't really want to say it because it's coming up in a couple of weeks and I'm still at the anxiety phase. If it was after Corks and Kegs, I wouldn't look anxious. This is the beer tent alone is 60 by 120. That's big. And all the breweries will go in there. The wine area is separate. So I'm telling you this for a reason. You can go ahead on to the next one. You can see, well, you can see it. You can see what it's become. And so the beer tent is all the way at the end. And so I have a beer garden sponsor. The wine area has to be separate, and I will not bore you with PLCB laws. I know more about liquor laws than I ever cared to. The wine area has a wine bar sponsor. One of the wineries is creating a special slushie this year. They're not creating anything. They have some slushie that they made. They're going to put the black label Lincoln wine slushie. Oh my God, Lincoln's like, what? I mean, no, they're beside themselves with excitement. That got me $2 more thousand. Okay, I have a food truck row. We have 20 food trucks at this moment. I have a food truck row sponsor. I have fashion. Shopping is big, folks. Listen to me when I tell you. And I'm going to give you that little bit of that formula that's worked. So we have certain boutiques for this one, right? It's a little more upscale. This one generates people from all over, so this one's a little more upscale. We have Fashion Row sponsor, a Fashion Row sponsor. Harebrained ideas, crazy things I think of at 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of them have failed miserably. Do not think that I have it failed miserably, laughed at myself. Oh, what was I thinking? Some of them I'm going, how did that even happen? How did we make that work? We're in the advertising and the newspaper industry full of creative human beings. We have all of the contacts. You're sitting in this room at your table, and if you don't know who to contact, somebody at your newspaper does. We have all the contacts. What he said is all, we've never met before, but what he said applies to what I do every single day. It all goes back to networking. All right. This is our biggest money, that was our biggest revenue generator of the year, and I figured out ways to even trim costs down a little bit more. Also, for that one, we have regional bands that cost a lot of money, but the casino keeps the beer sales, right? You see, this is the arrangement. I sell the sponsorships, the casino keeps the beer sales, and I said, well, then you should pay for the entertainment. I don't think I said it like that. I'm pretty sure I didn't sound cocky like that. I'm pretty sure I said, hey, would you please pay for the entertainment? And they are. That's a $12,000 to $20,000 bill. So this year we have someone who's a big name in Pittsburgh because it's our 5th year anniversary. For our 5th year anniversary, we've got Stella Artois, I can never say it, with some fancy trailer that's like a food truck. It's gorgeous with all this elaborate seating. So why I'm telling you this, 5-year anniversaries, this is an opportunity. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's sell 5-year anniversary whatevers. Is this making sense? Because I said I talk a lot and it's a lot. Too much? Okay. All right. This event is something that's a little bit, this one was personal for me. So, you know, we have nothing in our community for women. And I look at, in this room, women of all ages. And everybody's at a different stage of their life. Starting to have children, have small children and have to work. In my case, my mom is elderly and she lives with us and she's got health issues. Every one of us has something, right? We decided to do this event called All For Her. I should pass the magazines out. Would you mind passing them out? Would you mind, because I'll probably fall down the steps.
Helps don't get them. I'll get them.
Yeah, I wanted to take a look at them. I separated them. There's half there, half there. Thank you. The magazine was important for me because we were able to focus on health-related issues for women, just basically any issue, right? So needless to say, for this one, we got the hospital to be the main sponsor. The hospital identified this as extremely important to them. I go back to the Hilliard Lions, the financial planners of, those are just examples of all the full pages, I'll tell them about. I don't know if everybody wants those, but I have examples of all the full pages that you see up there, just to see how, let me change the subject for a second back to this. We have a lot of sponsors, as I told you, so you have to get creative. So we do different versions of the ad, so this, and I have all of these, if you want to take them back just to see, you don't have to. We're trying to mix it up a little bit, using more of our graphics. We have pictures of all of our events, but obviously you need to get your sponsor logos in there, and then we'd like to list the food, the vendors, the breweries, the wineries in that case. Thank you. Yeah. But the All for Her event was a way to not just generate revenue, going back to what I originally said, that's the main name of the game, but it's also a huge void that we had in our community. And so we had a former TV personality who went through a very, very traumatic personal obstacle, and we paid a good bit of money for her. So understand, I will pay for things. And I will tell you something, and I don't say this to scare you, but in your first year, and this is why I'm bringing this up now, you have to spend to get. So as long as you're covering your expenses and making a little bit of money, don't be afraid to spend to get. Because now in year 2, we're gonna pay literally half the amount of money for speakers, okay? Now, let me tell you, this was a bitter pill for my former boss to swallow, but I said, I will cover the cost, please hear me. We packed the house. There were, I mean, now this isn't gonna have 20 or 30,000 people, it's gonna have 500 to 600, but it's different, right? And the sponsors were blown away. And the vendors were blown away, and they got to have one-on-one conversation. Every single one of them has re-signed up. Well, basically, our ratio is right about 98%, and the only reason we've lost sponsors is because they've either, shifted gears or closed, or new ownership. But back to All for Her, I jumped off the subject. This event for me was special because of the way the one-on-one that we were able to see, and the fact that the sponsors said this one was totally different. And it all goes back to networking again. So don't be afraid to spend in year 1. I'll say it again, because in year 1, if you're spending, you're going to generate the people. And then in year 2, it's easier to sell your sponsorships. There's a method to this madness. It sounds like madness. Some days it is, but there's a method. All right. We were really proud of that. And when you guys get to see the magazine, we actually didn't have enough because we ordered extra but gave out so many. The All for Her magazine is my favorite. It's beautiful. There's just some photos. Obviously, you see there were makeovers, there's shopping. It was a great day. We picked a venue. We outgrew the venue. We had to go somewhere else for this year. Okay, go ahead on to the next one. The holiday market is also an absolute no-brainer. You have room to do something like this. You don't have to have a pavilion, but I guarantee you have 1 or 2 parking lots, right? You have 1 or 2 parking lots. It's going to be cold. Of course it's going to be cold. That's part of the charm. So you get the fire pits, and you get the outdoor heaters. Sometimes they're not even on. People think they're on. That checks that box. I don't even think they work half the time we get them. But so you get the carolers, right? You get the food trucks. We put this in conjunction with our Christmas parade that's in downtown. Obviously this is in our pavilion again. But if we're actually thinking about doing this holiday market in Greene County for our neighboring town, because they don't have a pavilion, they don't have a market, but they've got parking lots. It doesn't have to be covered. Rain or shine, bring an umbrella. I don't know why we don't give away umbrellas. That right there, to me, tells the story. We offered free horse and carriage rides for 2 hours. It's not cheap. I honestly said, I might write the check for this myself. I'm kidding, Perry, I'm not writing a check for that. But I got a sponsor for it. You can't imagine watching these kids' faces who maybe don't have anything. So there is a tremendous amount of reward aside from generating revenue for our newspapers. We all know our communities better than anybody else. We even know what needs help. We've got a couple of events in town where everyone's like, Carol, and I'm doing one of these. Oh, please, no. Do they still see me? Can you be on a committee? Can you help with this? I'm like, I'll take it over. And then we'll be, honestly, so there are even those aspects in your community. You'll be surprised. All right, the next one is its own animal. A lot of you have heard of them. Some of you are doing them. Some of you have done them. We did partner with Gatehouse our first year. We are not partnering with Gatehouse any longer because we're now into our third year and we know how to do it. So this is its own beast. This isn't an event, it's a thing, right? So it's got three. This is its own conversation. I won't bore you with this. But it can be one of the largest revenue generators for you because of the phases. First phase is obviously the nominations, the next phase is the voting phase, and then you sell the tab, and then we have the event. I'll let you click to the next slide. So what they did was really funny, and I'm going to draw attention to the middle picture. They made me talk with Miss Pennsylvania. Why would you put a middle-aged woman next to this stick? Like, that's just cruel. Look, right there. Like, come on now. We do have a video. I don't know if you can access the video, but that video speaks for the event far better than I can, if it'll come up, and it's got cool music. It's in his email. So, Best of the Best was probably one of the largest new revenue generators that the newspaper, the Observer Reporter, had ever seen. Now we're in year 3, so people know what it is. It has become a little bit of a challenge to retain some of that because they know we could push some of this on social media, right? But I'm going to tell you the number of nominations. We had 400,000 nominations. 400,000 nominations. It's astonishing to me. It's astonishing. Okay, go ahead. Here's the video. Oh, it's not playing. Do you want me to sing? No. That's the Observer.
Was it in you?
Let's see.
Washington. Oh, we had this at the Hilton Garden Inn
Up it.
in Washington. That's where everything is, because there's nowhere big enough to do it. Everything. Yeah, sound
We're
point.
not getting the sound, sorry, Camille.
That's all right. I'll sing.
Tell us about
So this is obviously,
winners.
yeah. I mean, it's really so inspiring. Look at the number of people. We sold out. We had to change the seating for the first year because we sold so many tickets, and we had to do the seating in theater style again this past year because we almost sold out. So there were 820 people at the ceremony, but there is nothing better than watching our local business community get together to celebrate this, to cheer each other on. There's a little bit of rivalry, and it's worth every second. So you see Miss Pennsylvania was the guest speaker, and she gave away the grand prizes. Obviously there's food. We had 3 professional photographers there. Sounds expensive, was not. We had this video. Yes, obviously I like to talk. But it was a magical evening. People can't wait to talk about getting dressed up to come to this event. And the best part is, you can't drive around Washington and not see that logo. Because at the end of it, we sell the signs to them. Well, they get a sign if they win. We also sell additional signage. They put it all over the place, on their window, at their register, the favorite local coffee shop. It's sitting right there in the front. So absolutely is a revenue generator. It's a community, it's community rivalry, it's community pride, it's everything rolled into one. But it takes an entire year for us to count the votes, do everything. But we sort of divide and conquer at the Observer. So everybody's got a little piece. Like right now, thanks to all of you, I don't have to move any tables. Thank you very much. Because everybody's back at the pavilion right now, schlepping the tables around, getting ready for the event tonight. So I've got a couple people there, including my son, who will come out and help. You think, oh, my staff's too small for this. My staff's too small for this. Your staff's actually not too small. You wouldn't believe. Partner with a nonprofit. Partner with a nonprofit. I was going to forget to tell you that. Every event we have has a nonprofit tie. Every single event we select someone, the food bank, the Humane Society, anything, your local hospital that has a cancer, pediatric cancer. There's so many organizations who are in need. Partner with them, not just because you should, and you give them a check, you think you're giving them $1 million, but they'll help people. You just said exactly what I was going to say. They have people. If you say to them, hey, listen, I'm going to need some help moving some tables and chairs around. Can you give me some of your volunteers? Absolutely. So they want to, and it helps you. So your staff isn't too small. Realistically, it was myself and another girl before I became the ad director. And so we created 15 events by just myself and another girl. Yeah. I told you I was crazy in the beginning. I think you got the memo, right? But this is literally, these are the tips. And we tried to make it so that this is scary. When you look at all this nonsense, this is scary. This isn't scary. Don't start out doing 15. We started out doing 2. And we hit 2 home runs. And then every year, all I want to do is expand a little bit. If we're making $4,000, if the increase is, 2%, 6%, that's a great increase. Do not overprice yourself out of your market. Do not. It is the kiss of death. Spend a little money early on. Get your sponsors locked in. Charge your vendors a nominal amount and don't raise it. It's our 5th year. We might raise it going into the 6 through 10 year, but I'm talking $25. I'm not talking $50 or $100, right? So you'll know, partner with your rental companies. If you can partner with a rental company, that is your biggest aggravation and most expense. So remember again, I don't know where all the magazines have gone. You could see that we spend a lot of time and there's a lot of pride in those magazines. But that helps sell the story. So I'm going to go back to what I said in the very beginning because I have no idea what time it is. Oh, I thought you were going to cut me off or poke me or something. You should have. All right.
Tell me, does other media cover your events?
Absolutely.
Like TV
That's a
and
good
radio?
question. Yes. So that's a great question. For the Food Truck Festival, I appeared on Pittsburgh Today Live with the Vice President of Marketing for the casino. And we stood on the apron where I had my little Food Truck Festival hat on, or shirt on, and we pointed at all the craziness that was going on. The radio stations will come and do live remotes. I do spend a little money, though, on our local radio station. So what I do is, every market's different. I'm just going to make this number as an example. I'll give you $500 in spots. Will you match it and give me 500 more? And we'll make you a sponsor or put your logo on things. Yes. The answer is always going to be yes. Right? So it shows an allegiance and an alliance also to the rest of the community. TV is all over the Food Truck Festival and Corks and Kegs. They're coming back down to do a Pittsburgh Today Live. We utilize our Facebook very heavily. Very heavily. Remember what I said. Push things back to your paper. Push things back to your paper. You have that ability. Push things to your website that then directs back to your newspaper's website. It's all cyclical. It all works together. Do not be scared by all of this. Don't be scared by everything I showed you here today. Start with one. Think about what I said. Venue's key. And believe me, I don't know everything about anything, but I sat on the other side of the desk for a very long time. I knew what, as the host or the venue, what I would want to get out of giving up the mall to someone. So pick your venue. Think about your partners and your sponsors. Think about your expenses, and for every expense, pick a sponsor. It's really that. That is the sauce. We're media companies. We have the contacts, and if we don't know them, someone else does. People want to partner with us. Your town may be small. There's a neighboring town. Get together and do things. Find events that need help. It's not presumptuous to say, hey, how about if we do a magazine for you and partner with you? So there's much, much more than this to it. I have, like I said, all the ads are there. We are extremely proud of what we've done. We've won some awards for it, but what I'm more proud of is the impact it's made in our community, the amount of money that we've raised, the tons and tons of food that we've raised. Photo ops right there, right? here you are with an odd little combination. I partnered with Always Moving and Storage to be a sponsor of a handful of the events. One of them was last year's Corks and Kegs, where we did raise, it was food, we raised for the food bank. So I said, listen, I don't know how much food we're gonna get, but how about if we get the food, put it in your truck, and then we take pictures of you taking it over to the food bank, or take pictures at the food bank. Oh, yes. So everybody's happy. We are media outlets. Think back. I went real close for this one. This is 110% doable no matter your newspaper size, no matter your market size. Start small, think of the things I said. It is an absolute revenue stream. I'm done. That's it. Questions? Okay, you clap first. I like clapping. No questions? Nothing? Bueller? No?
Don, I got a question for Mike.
Okay, Mike?
Eric Anderson, Wetzel Chronicle, Tyler Star News. You mentioned the healthiest or fittest contest in the country.
Right.
Has West Virginia ever done anything of that nature? And if we haven't, do you think we could?
You could. I will tell you that we also work through the American College of Sports Medicine with the National Physical Activity Plan. So I think in 2010, the Centers for Disease Control and Disease Prevention said, this is the National Physical Activity Plan for the United States. We challenge every state in the country to develop their own individualized plan. Eloise Elliott from Lewisburg, who now teaches at WVU through the CPAS program, led a statewide effort with business and industry, and West Virginia was the very first state to develop its own state physical activity plan. The bad news is that plan was never implemented due to the lack of money to do so. That being said, Eloise and West Virginia got a lot of attention because being the first state to do that. There would be a way, I think, to do that. Through the CDC, the National Physical Activity Plan Alliance, and I know some of those folks, and the American College of Sports Medicine is very tied into that network. I really do think they ought to do something in rural areas of the country as well. It is true, if you go to the American Fitness Index and the ACSM, American Fitness Index website, it gives you the 33 indicators that their scientific team has put together and how they ranked all the cities. And you can go to that and see, like Pittsburgh moved up a lot of slots in the last year. I noticed that. And it still gives a game plan for even small communities or even any community in the country that could adopt and track these. This all information gathered by sources that are out there. So I could visit with you and tell you how that could happen potentially, and I might be able to make it happen. I think it's really a sin that we never implemented the state of West Virginia's physical activity plan. I think pieces of it were taken by maybe schools or some businesses, but I think we need, why develop the plan? It's like developing the grocery list and never going shopping, or not, taking the list of everybody's needs at the charitable organizations and never giving them any money to help them. Mm-hmm. It's not right. But I'd be glad to talk to you about that. That'd be a fun project, and it's needed.
Thank you.
There'd be grant dollars.
Oh, yeah, there would be. And I think the delegation, the congressional delegation, and local, state, and federal leaders would be very interested in that kind of initiative.
I'm on a city council, and I'd like to push something.
Good.
Well, that gives me a great intro to stress networking marketing in 305 tonight after the event hit the hospitality suite. Our goal today is to help you make revenue. That's an important thing for every newspaper here. I think what's very important about the two folks we had, and I want to have another round of applause in a moment for them, is that they're connected and they're sizable. You may not do kegs and the size of event that they do, and you may not take someone on city council to the press club, but you can take them down the street for a cup of coffee. Your folks can be involved in some local groups that give you access, and then you can do events that help those groups. You're improving your community, you're generating revenue. You guys know more than anybody else, we need to generate revenue to our papers, we need new money. There's not a lot of new retail in your communities. I wish there was, but the reality is we know there's not. There's not a lot of new residents in West Virginia. We wish there were, but there aren't. But through networking and through new events, you can generate new money, and that's vital to your operation. And it also gets your people involved. If you haven't been involved in these kind of things, and Carole pointed it out, and certainly Mike gets to really neat stuff at the Capitol, but it's fun. You get away from the office in a way that you don't get to do on a regular basis. It's good, and I think that, like you say, whether it's just a small thing and your goals are small, or a big event that they're doing, this is sizable for every paper, weekly and daily, in every community in West Virginia. And there's one point I want to make that I think it's very important on both of these, is it gets you in touch with young people in your community. The one area that we really struggle with right now is young people. And if it's at the school board, because they have kids in school, it's important. If it's at a kegs festival or a food truck festival, you're reaching an audience that isn't our traditional audience right now, but they're appreciating the Observer Reporter. They're going to appreciate and I know a lot of you guys are doing these things already. It's just, if you're looking at where, and to the publishers in the room, if you're looking at where I find 5% next year, is it going to be in your typical retail? Is it going to be in your circulation? Is it going to be in your event? And the nice thing about these events and this type of stuff is it will build your circulation and it will build your retail. It pays long term. I hope you found this helpful and informative and ideas to go back. Again, it's going to be videotaped so you can pull this out and show your staff and get some good ideas. Round of applause for our people. Our next event is at noon, and it is our awards luncheon, and the program says Governor's Ballroom. I actually think it's the Reflections Ballroom just down the hallway, and you'll see the thing there. I believe that's correct. We'll see you there at lunchtime. We'll relax a little bit until then, and remember, mark on your program, 305, hospitality.
There's a lot of booths in the other rooms for the registration.
Is that right? Great job. Excellent job. You can reach out to both with questions by email, but I would give Carole a week or two. It sounds like she's pretty tied up for the next week.
It's every day.
He wants to know how many people are coming back with
Right,
you
I
to
was
help
like,
with tonight.
would it be a shameless